Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Between Sessions with Berries. Today's guest is Joshua Brummel, co-founder of TherapyFlow, a marketing and CRM platform built specifically for therapy practices. With more than 7 years in the private practice space and over $3 million in managed ad spend, Joshua has helped thousands of practice owners generate consistent clients, understand their marketing ROI, and scale sustainably. He's also the author of The Flow, a weekly newsletter read by over 15,000 therapists and practice owners. Today, we're diving into marketing ROI, AI-powered growth, and how to stop guessing what's working in your practice. Joshua, so glad to have you here. Thanks for being a guest.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Excited to chat about all these layers. They're very important as practice owners and therapists are trying to build a great business.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to dive into this. So how'd you end up working so deeply in the private practice space? And what gaps did you notice that you needed to fill for therapists?
Yeah, it was on purpose and on accident. I was doing my undergraduate work. Actually thought I was going to go and get a master's in counseling. I always had an interest in the space, but I had an even greater interest in business ownership and business building and being creative in that way. I'd always had an eye, kind of classic story, like knocking on doors at 10, trying to like mow lawns and build a business from a young age type situation. So I started businesses in college. I started a marketing and sales organization, trained a bunch of people, scaled stuff in college, out of college, worked at the Chicago Tribune for a while, and then eventually started my own consulting agency for marketing and for business development, worked with a myriad of industries, started to work with some counselors, and was like, oh, this is cool. This is more formative. This is something that I had considered for myself and I had a lot of interest in already. And so I kind of doubled down there, and then it's only pulled me in further over the last 7+ years working with them exclusively. And yeah, where my skill sets are around business, around holistic sales, and around making sure that they have the tools to scale their practice as they already have all the clinical tools.
That's amazing. Yeah, so needed. So that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Like, what is that gap that you've noticed, like working with therapists over time? Are there like gaps that you always notice therapists come to if they're in private practice or even group practice, where it's like, yes, every therapist needs help with this part of their business?
Yeah. So a number of years ago, when I started to run a lot of paid ads, Facebook and Google ads for our practices, it became really clear that the average practice owner didn't know where their leads were coming from. And this was pre-COVID even, of just, I don't know if my ads are working. And I'm like, well, I use a CRM to know if my ads for my business are working, but every practice has an EHR where they house all of their patient data and their layers. And so they get along without a CRM, a customer relationship manager, it's called, for a long time typically. But the industry has changed and marketing has changed. So the number one problem we saw and still see is, how do I know if my marketing is working? And what tool do I use to answer that question? Because I'm investing dollars and I just don't know, and it's not easily accessible. And where does it all go? So how do I know it's working? Where do my calls, where do my clients come from?
Gotcha. Would you say that that's probably the number one misunderstanding therapists have? Like, I've got to have a grasp on where these leads are coming from if I want to be effective and working in my practice?
Misunderstanding from the standpoint of, if they don't know where it's coming from, it's really hard for them to invest more in marketing. And so that's the second thing, is a lot of practice owners aren't spending as much time or as much money as they should be on marketing. And it actually makes a lot of sense because they don't know how effective their marketing dollars are. So they feel like Google ads are or aren't working, or they feel like their SEO is or isn't working, right? It's hard to spend some of the dollars that people ask them to spend on marketing based off of a feeling and vague results. So all to say is, yeah, that data either gives confidence to do more or gives clarity to say no and do less.
Gotcha. What stage in the journey should a therapist really start thinking like, okay, I need to expand my marketing efforts? Let's say maybe they have a Psychology Today profile or something, and it's bringing in clients, that kind of thing. When's the next step to maybe Google ads, or maybe we could talk about the different things that a therapist can do, but when's the next step to move from just like, I'm putting my profile out there in a couple of directories, now what do I do?
Yeah. Call this the golden referral ratio. every practice has a ratio between how many referrals or leads they need each month to how many clinicians they have on their team. So a practice with 50 clinicians will need more leads, obviously, than the practice with one clinician. Anecdotally, across the thousands of practices we worked with, it's about 10 to 1. You need about 10 leads or 10 calls a month per full-time clinician on your team. So if you're a solo practice right now and you have 10 to 15 people reach out to you, word of mouth, and your psych today, you might be good unless you're trying to raise rates or grow or hire that next clinician. Maybe we've got a group practice with 3 clinicians and they're getting 15 leads a month, and we have 3 full-time employees. We need to be closer to like 30 or 35. That's a great signal to say, if my current marketing isn't getting us enough, how do I increase the volume or the channels to make that happen? 10 to 1.
Nice. That's a nice number to try to emulate for sure. Let's say I realize, okay, there's a gap, right? I'm only bringing in 5 referrals a month. I need 10 at least. What do I do? What's the next step when traditional directories aren't maybe cutting it? Because I see this all over the Facebook groups right now. People are saying, I just can't get the leads. What do I do? It's a question every day. So when somebody notices, okay, I'm not getting that many, like, what do you recommend? Where do we start? What's the next step?
So we have to decide, are we going to invest time or are we going to invest dollars? If we're really open to investing time, networking and SEO and GEO, generative engine optimization, right? AI search, those are really great ways that therapists can still learn how to do themselves and invest a lot of their own time to see results with. If we're willing to invest money, paid ads like Google ads is still having a lot of success for our practices, or hiring vendors or partners to do things like your SEO and your GEO for you. But your web presence, networking, paid ads, those are the 3 most recommended channels that we have for our practices. And there's a lot of other tangential things, but for getting new people to know about you and to see you for the very first time, those 3 are still kind of the tried and true that are driving the industry.
Nice. Okay. So can we talk about GEO and AEO and SEO and break that down a little bit? Because I feel like this is just the hot topic now. I mean, even GEO is a newer term to me, where I know AEO, Ask Engine Optimization, but now this GEO, it's like a whole nother layer. Can we just talk about that for a minute for people that maybe aren't up on the AI scene yet?
I think I've seen people use AEO, AIO, GEO, all kind of in tandem or in exchange. So to kind of cut through the noise, the way I describe it is traditional SEO, search engine optimization. What that really just means is Google, pretty much, is can your practice website show up in Google for searches? Now, AEO is split into 2 folds. If someone's in ChatGPT or they're in another chat-based prompting experience and they say, recommend an EMDR clinic, talk to me about this process. Does it show up for you in the same way that you want search to show up for you? Where the second layer comes into it is, do the platforms have accurate information about your practice? I was working with a practice 2 weeks ago, and we were searching their practice name inside of ChatGPT. And it pulled up a MapQuest profile from over 10 years ago that had a bunch of negative reviews on it. And this practice owner bought this practice. They didn't know that profile even existed. It didn't show up in Google when they searched their practice name because it was probably 10 pages deep, but it was the number 1 thing listed as far as brand reputation. Was like, kind of don't go to this practice. Look at these MapQuest reviews. They're terrible. And they're 10 years old, not related to that new ownership. And so a big piece of what I would say is generative engine health, these really AI models, is does it say the right things about your practice, about your providers, about your reviews, and about your brand? And that's a really big impact point, because we find that people go to ChatGPT or they go to Google and they say, tell me about New Balance LLC, and it's going to spill the tea, so to speak, on whether you're a good or a bad practice. And that's based off of how well you've curated your profile, which is a little scary.
That's very scary. Like, what do you even do? How do you
Yeah.
correct how ChatGPT is pulling up your information? Do you have tips or strategies around that? I mean, I know it's also new, but
Yeah.
that's kind of scary when you think about it. Like MapQuest, you just wouldn't think that it would pull that information. So what do you do in that situation? I've seen services, like if you get bad reviews on Google, there's services that can go, like reputation management
Yeah.
services. But I'm just curious, when you saw that come up, like what's the next step?
Yeah. So number one is sometimes you can remove where that information is coming from. So we can go to MapQuest and remove that profile and remove that segment. That's not always possible for reviews and where those are found, unfortunately. Accuracy and readability in your own website is really important. And so you can actually ask ChatGPT or Claude or Google Gemini in your conversations, hey, why did you reference this information in this way? And so one of the best ways to get changes or transitions to your web presence or to your profile is to use it as a mirror and have a two-way conversation with the AI platform and ask it, why did you say this? What changes could I make so you should say something like this differently? And use them to coach you through the changes on your website. But the last tip is it's about readability for the AI models. And so this looks like shorter snippets. You mentioned answer engine optimization. They're looking to pull answers from your website. Do we have good reviews? What are providers licensed with? So we need to be a lot punchier with our website modules and our content in our website to answer those questions. And that will help us show up better. We'll get those answers pulled into the platforms faster.
Really interesting. Yeah, because I mean, I guess with Google and SEO, right? It was always like, put what people are searching. Look at the keywords people are searching out there.
Like, get it all in there, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like what do they call it? Like keyword stuffing. Yeah, that's what you just said, right? Keyword stuffing, just trying to match what Google will be looking for, but it's totally different now. It's totally shifting with all these AI models looking for questions that people are asking. Super interesting. Yeah. Do you guys help with that? Like ask engine optimization on websites and that sort of thing, or GEO?
Yeah. If you go to our website today, we'll talk a little bit about GEO and SEO still. What this is really all blending into from our perspective is still just web presence, online presence optimization. I don't know where the industry is going to head with. Do we all call it GEO? Do we all call it? I wasn't around doing this work when people in early 2000s were deciding to call it SEO versus some of the other terms that were on the table used then too. So we'll figure it out in the next year or two. But online presence optimization is ultimately what this is. And that is very much something we help with. Your web presence, your GEO searchability, your web content, the accuracy, the best practices there. We have services for that. We have coaching for that. But it becomes really important to pay attention. I think really the brand impact is the first thing I'm kind of raising the alarm for therapists, because it could be killing you on the back end without you even knowing it.
Amazing. The brand impact, can you talk more about that?
I think of 3 layers of brand impact. Your people that you have inside of your organization. We're therapists. So instead of product, it's really people. Are they represented clearly and well across your online presence and accurately through search engines and through AI engines? Your process. Are you showing up correctly with the therapeutic results that you get for people and the process you take and the unique ways that your practice is? And then your proof. This is your proof that you can do what you say you can. Your testimonials, your mechanisms, your EMDR certifications, your retreats, the things that you do that actually get the clients the results. Those 3 layers, people, proof, and process, those are going to be really important to make sure show up appropriately if you want your brand to be really clear and show up online across the board.
Amazing. These are such great tips, really. So with all this in mind that you're talking about, can we shift and talk about what is a CRM? Let's dive into that so people can understand like what we're even talking about. And like, how's it different than an EHR?
Yeah. So I kind of imagine that they sit next to each other. One is front of house, one is back of house. And so your EHR, I want to schedule an appointment with the provider. We've got it scheduled. Here's the paperwork and everything else that happens after that, right? That doesn't change. Your CRM is sort of your house for everyone that has not yet become a paying client. And it should do a bunch of things for you, a good CRM. One, it should be HIPAA compliant in this space. There's tons of awesome CRMs out there that aren't HIPAA compliant. I'd recommend any of them, right, if that wasn't necessary. But we want it to first and foremost track automatically where all of your leads are coming from. How many come from Google Ads? How many come from the EMDR service page versus the main website contact page? How many are coming from organic SEO? How many come from Facebook ads and Google ads? How many come from referral partner doctor practice A versus school B, and so forth? With a good CRM, like the TherapyFlow CRM, you can set up ways to pull in all of your leads from all of your different sources automatically into a single place, a dashboard, and get a report on where they're coming from. Then you can go a step further and use that system for intake and list nurture, AI conversations to send emails and automations and text messages, paperwork, follow-up, email marketing for newsletters that are HIPAA compliant, and a whole host of other marketing tools. But it starts with us having the data, getting off of a spreadsheet for tracking all the conversations and who did we follow up with, and automating what we call list nurture or referral nurture to help get a higher amount of people enrolling in therapy. And that's the biggest benefit. That's the core of a great CRM.
That's so valuable. I think therapists in general, not to generalize, but we're really bad with numbers generally. Yeah. Even with my own business, it's like, I get this feeling, I'm like, maybe that product's not doing so well, but I never think to look at the numbers and really analyze the numbers like, oh, 10% conversion rate is actually pretty good. So I love this idea, and I think it's probably the missing piece for a lot of therapists. People ask me all the time, like, how do I track my financials and figure out what to do with my business? Something like this is the key to that. It really is. So once all the data comes in, does TherapyFlow itself help decide from there, okay, it looks like the Google ad spend maybe isn't doing so great, but it looks like Dr. So-and-so is, so let's put all our energy over here? Or like, does it give that kind of guidance, like AI guidance around all those details, or how does it work? I'm just super curious about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So at this juncture, we still kind of have two tracks for our practices on that.
Okay.
You have all of that data available for you to make decisions, to read, to understand, and accessible. And that we have lots of practices that just use it as a tool and they do their continued work with it. And then when we either have coaching, our coaching services attached to it, or our marketing done for you services, our team are the ones making decisions, making recommendations, scaling ads, pulling things back, and some of those pieces. So it doesn't go quite as far as to like make AI suggestions on that data coming in, mainly because every practice is still so different. Your cash pay practice with 2 therapists at $350 a session is so different than the practice across this country that's at $98 average reimbursement rate with a 50% intake rate and some of those things. So maybe one day. But right now, yeah, you can have advisory with TherapyFlow's help or build systems just around the tool.
That's amazing. When does a therapy practice, solo or group, need a CRM? What is the red flags or whatever that it's like, okay, I need to do something about this to get better numbers and understanding of where my marketing dollars are going?
Yeah, there's 4 potential reasons why you might get started. Not mutually exclusive, but some really great reasons to indicate. Number 1, we're getting more than 15 to 20 leads in total on a monthly basis. It's something to help you convert more of your leads and to track your current leads. If you're a solo practice, you get 5 to 10 calls a month right now. Put those dollars into marketing and then come back when we're getting more leads. So 15 to 20 leads a month is a great starting point. That's number 1. Number 2, if you want to do HIPAA compliant email marketing for any practice, if you want to send newsletters, if you want to market other products like courses, if you want to nurture an email list, if you're doing social media and doing list building or lead magnets, all of that is great inside of the CRM, regardless of your practice size. And that's a great reason to sign up if you need HIPAA compliance there.
So you recommend that for a therapist to have a HIPAA compliant newsletter list, even if people are just opting in from their website, you would recommend it be HIPAA compliant?
If you're primarily still delivering clinical services or clinical work, you're going to save yourself any headache down the road of any PHI issues. We have a HIPAA compliant form that just integrates right with your website, and you can make newsletter opt-in pages and such. And so it's very easy to make that HIPAA compliance, and it's better if you're only doing coaching products or services, you probably don't need it. And you could maybe go with a slightly cheaper platform that doesn't have the HIPAA compliant cost associated with it, like a MailChimp or something, which is fine. Two other entry points, paid ads. If you're running Google ads of any kind, I hear without a CRM, almost no practice knows how many leads they're getting from the ads and which ones are converting into paying clients. They might be able to say how many leads they're getting, but they definitely can't tell you which ones specifically without asking the potential client, which are converting into paid sessions. And in 2026 with Google Ads, that is a must-have if you want ROI from your campaigns. So any practice owner running Google Ads should have a CRM to track that. And then the last one is just if you're an AI data flow automation junkie. And so there's ways to set up AI conversations to physically answer, make and receive phone calls. There's automations for workflows, firing off emails. There's a bunch of other fun tools inside of there, but AI phone calls and list text and email conversations and nurtures, if you need that for your practice in general of any size, those would be the 4 reasons why a practice would get started with us in major ways.
Really cool. Now, is it mainly therapists or are coaches using this too? Because we have a mix of listeners on this podcast that are probably doing both.
Yeah. So any type of practice and business owner, we're therapy industry and wellness industry specific. It's TherapyFlow for that reason. Our services, our larger marketing services, are typically just for traditional mental health group practice owners. The CRM can be for any coach or in the wellness space or therapist and counselor that needs a HIPAA compliant solution.
So cool. Yeah. So something you kind of touched on, you said social media. Does TherapyFlow help with the social media process? Because I know that's like the bane of everyone's existence, is trying to be a therapist and market and that sort of thing. Does it help with that too?
Yeah, 2 recommendations there. There's a social media scheduler, so that way you can cross-post across all platforms. There's also new AI content generators for things like captions, even some images and other things that you can do natively as you're building and scheduling that content out, which is great. And then this is also where other AI tools that aren't TherapyFlow, but are awesome for that type of help. So AI video editing tools, we use platforms like Descript or Opus AI, and then other content tools that make content generation possible. And my one rule of thumb that I found for good content is it's all about context. We need about a 200 to 500 to 1 ratio. I like ratios of context per good output. So if I want a really great blog, or I want a really great social media post, or I want a really great video script, I have to give several hundred words of context to the AI model if I wanted to give good quality output. So if I just go to the AI model and say, hey, write a social media post on EMDR, it'll spit something out. But if I go and I pull some papers, if I do a voice note on EMDR based off of our knowledge, if I grab some past high-performing social media examples, other things, I give AI all of that context, and then I ask it to make my social media post, probably get a really good post quickly compared to something before. And that's a way that we've leveraged AI for better output. We have to look at the context first.
I love that. So many people say, I don't even use AI. It just all sounds like crap and so generic. And it's like, yeah, but you haven't trained it.
Right. I'm sure you've found some awesome secrets on training it for cool things and such too, right?
For sure. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. We cover that extensively in my AI memberships. Yeah. You got to start there. We create these really extensive brand guides that you could just upload to any AI that you want to use. So do you have a preference of large language model that you like the best for writing social media copy, that sort of thing?
Unfortunately, like everyone kind of got started in ChatGPT, so I still use that one the most at this juncture out of habit. I've been using Gemini and Claude a lot more for other use cases, image generation, coding, other pieces there. And then there's some like really niche specific, actually like marketing ones that I've bought into or subscribed, tried out, other things that aren't some of the larger ones that I've had some success with.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Context is everything.
Yeah. And I'm like you, I really got into the ChatGPT thing and this is my base for everything, but I just
Right.
hear Claude, 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 Claude over and over again for like writing good copy for blog posts and that sort of thing. So I need to get over there and be in Claude more, I think.
Yeah.
But I always like to hear what people are using. So we love to do this question on here. Just like total side note, is there some sort of AI tool that you just use in your personal life that you think is just the most amazing thing ever and you just kind of go to it for all the stuff, other stuff you're doing?
I'm the exact opposite. I'm so tech forward for all things public facing in my business. And when I go home, I don't have any social media or major apps on my phone. We don't have a TV in our house. Like we're
Oh my gosh.
we're a little bit like the opposite on a home front. But the real answer in that is one, I use ChatGPT a lot still for like finances, for editing, for other things. And then Notion as a platform. For me personally, all of my writing, I follow this concept of How to Build a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. Some awesome AI stuff, talks about Notion a lot. And I love that concept of how to build a second brain for knowledge interaction with your own content. And so I use Notion personally for where all of my family, my home, my taxes, my life, my writings, all of that lives inside of Notion. And they have great AI search and content and such there.
Yeah, I keep hearing that about Notion. We use, from our project management stuff, we use ClickUp. They've just released like some super agents or something. So I really need to get.
Do you like that?
I haven't played with it yet. I never have time to play with all the things I want to play with AI. There's
Definitely.
something new coming out every day.
We just transitioned from Asana, which felt like they were really lagging behind for our AI integration, to ClickUp. So we did a big build out this past fall, headed into the new year for ClickUp. We're loving it. And I specifically love all of the context and the AI meeting notes that I will pull in, which there's been lots of note takers there, but that's just in the same place as we do all of our project management, our other AI pieces. So I think I'm really floored by the integration that ClickUp has for all of that, and softwares like that that are bringing in just next level AI tools inside of the function that they already have.
Yeah, it's like everything I use every day. It seems like there's some new amazing feature inside of whatever I've been using. And ClickUp's one of those. I keep getting the ad like, don't you want to enable your super agent? And I'm like, I do, but I haven't had time yet. So
Yeah. And that kind of brings us to one point with the CRM is, what do you do with intake calling specifically in the world of AI agents? And our one recommendation these days is, if we have live in-office people, you use it to qualify calls quickly, do a live transfer or a warm transfer. So you have it ask 5 or 6 quick questions. So that way you kick out all the spam and you get quick qualification before you do a warm transfer for a live person. Or you have it qualify during off hours and schedule an intake via schedule automatically, or schedule a call back at a specific time for when someone is in office. And so we're not quite at the point with EHR integrations and other things. We can get AI to go start to finish all the way to the first paid therapy session. Probably be a while before that throughput is great for both the client and the practice. But right now, warm transfers that kick out all the tire kickers, and out of office answers that result in actual appointments for consults. Those are huge use cases for the TherapyFlow, AI, voice, or any of your preferred, AI callers if you're going to do that.
that's amazing. I mean, because I know that's a huge pain point for therapists. Sitting in 8 hours of sessions, you miss all the calls.
Right.
And then they've gone on to somebody else that actually has an AI agent answering the phone call, or a receptionist or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
that
a
person
huge.
just wants to move through the process more than they need like a full answer in that moment. So if someone's calling your office and they get an appointment on calendar the next day or the following day, they'll probably like stop their search. They'll stop their calling because they'll wait for that time to come up and go from there.
So interesting. Gosh. So where do people find you? If they want to check out TherapyFlow or what you're doing and putting out into the world, where do they find you?
Yeah, mytherapyflow.com is our main website. And then Google TherapyFlow, TherapyFlow CRM, and everything will come up. 2 great entry points. We have a free newsletter. And so I personally write that weekly. I don't use AI for it, and it's marketing and business growth tips specifically that are really great for that. And then from there, any of our YouTube content, our both paid and free events that we host are awesome ways to get started with us.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.